Hey guys, it's Kimberly. Welcome back to my channel. So today is the first official installment of my Makeup for Beginners little series thing. Um, and yeah, if you didn't watch my skincare routine, it was the last video I did. It will be linked down below. It is very important if you're going to be wearing makeup to develop your own skincare routine, but I go over all of that in that video. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. And let's go ahead and get into this video. So, as you can tell by the title, this video is all about picking your foundation. I was going to make this one video and just have all about foundation in one video, but it was way too long because there's so much to cover. So, we're going to make it two videos, one for how to pick out your foundation and everything you need to know about foundation, and then one for how to actually apply it. So, disclaimer before we even get into anything, I am not a licensed makeup artist or esthetician or cosmetologist or anything like that. I do occasionally do makeup for people for events or just for fun or just because they ask me to, but I am not actually a makeup artist. That's not what I do with my time. It's not my job. It's not anything like that. I didn't go to school for it. Everything I know, I learned by watching YouTube, by asking people that know what they're talking about or that went to school for it, or by looking it up on YouTube. If you want somebody that's licensed to teach you about makeup, then this is not the video for you. You should go find someone. I don't know who to recommend for you, or I would. But if you want somebody that's actually licensed, then you need to go find her somewhere else, him or her somewhere else. But if you just want somebody that's a normal person that knows, I think, a lot about makeup and just normal person level of stuff, then this is a video for you. I'm going to try and make this a very easy kind of learning experience for people that are new to makeup. If you are not a brand new person to makeup, if you already know some of this stuff, that's fine. Maybe you'll still learn something a little different. I don't know. But I'm just trying to make this something that the everyday person can understand. Because I know when I was looking and trying to learn, some stuff was just way over my head and didn't click at all. So I'm just trying to add to the pile of videos that help the everyday person understand makeup and how to go about putting it on their face. So, disclaimer over and everything. There are many different ways to put on your makeup, different like actual procedures, different actual application techniques, but there's also different orders that you can put your foundation or that you can put your makeup on. So I'm going to be doing this series in the order that I do my makeup on, and just know that it's not set in stone that you have to go in this order, that you can't step out of the lines. If you feel comfortable doing it in another order, go ahead and do it that way. But this series is going to be foundation, followed by concealer, followed by contour, stuff like that. Foundation, then eyes, or face, then eyes. But if you want to do your eyes first, do that. If you want to do your concealer before you put your foundation on, go ahead and do it. There are no set in stone rules for makeup. Everything about makeup is pretty much up to you. But even though I'm saying that, there are still like guidelines type of things if you want to do makeup like everybody else or like me or anything like that. Then there are some basic guidelines that most of us follow. So I'm going to be just kind of showing you how I do makeup basically. But it's not set in stone that that's the only way to do it. So now, getting into foundation. The first thing you need to do when you start looking into buying a foundation is figure out what kind of coverage you want. I have 3 different types of coverage of foundations, partially because I have foundation in my collection that matches my skin tone, that matches other people's skin tone, or that matches my wife's skin tone, which is very pale. So I have like not a huge collection, and I just got rid of a lot of foundation, but I have a few different types of foundation, which works well for this video because I can show you different types. So the first thing you need to do is figure out what kind of coverage you want. If you want light coverage, which means which could mean sheer coverage, or it could mean a little bit of coverage, just kind of like enough to kind of even out your skin tone, but basically not look like you're wearing makeup. Or if you want medium coverage, which will be a little bit heavier, but will still be very lightweight, so you'll get the extra coverage, but you won't really feel it on your face, and it won't cover everything because it's not full coverage. Or full coverage is the third option. Full coverage makeup is going to be heavier. You're going to most likely feel it on your face. It's the foundation that will be a little harder if you're new to keep from getting it cakey, but I'm going to try and help you not make your foundation cakey. So those are just the 3 different coverages. Medium coverage and full coverage, a lot of those foundations will say medium to full, which means they start off medium and you can build them up and make them full coverage. But I'm going to go ahead and show you the different coverages. So for light coverage, I have a tinted moisturizer, which in the skincare video I went over moisturizing your face. This is the same thing, and this could replace the one that I showed you. It's just tinted, so it gives you the coverage, a little bit of coverage anyway. And this is the e.l.f. tinted moisturizer. So everyone knows e.l.f. is a very good, very cheap brand. Then I have this Wet n Wild Intuitive Blend foundation and primer mix. So with this, it is going to give you that very light coverage, but it is also going to fill in like fine lines and stuff like that. And this one's actually a little bit different because it's a shade adjusting one, so it changes based on your skin tone. And then I have this one, which is kind of gimmicky, but works well for a very light coverage foundation. It is the Airbrush Face Makeup by Sally Hansen. It's a spray foundation. It's not like an actual airbrush foundation, because those do exist where they're like in a gun. This is just like a aerosol form of foundation. So these are the 3 that I have to show you lightweight foundations. So with a tinted moisturizer, what you're going to get is something very lightweight. Obviously all of these are light in coverage, but what I say when I say lightweight means it's going to be, first of all, it's going to be very kind of liquidy, but it's going to be kind of creamy, like your cream that you put on your face, like your moisturizer. When you rub it in, some of it's just going to soak right into your skin and hydrate your skin, and then some of it's just going to stay on top and give you that coverage that you want. So there's that one. It's just a very light coverage. You can definitely see it because that is not the color of my skin, but as you can see, it really doesn't change too much about my skin because, well, there's not really much to cover there, but it's not something that's going to give you coverage if you have like red spots or dark spots or anything like that to cover. It's going to be good for your skin. That one specifically has SPF 20 in it, so it'll help a little bit with the sun, and it'll hydrate and everything. This one is actually a lot like a BB cream, which a BB cream is another alternative to foundation. It's kind of a mix of foundation, primer, moisturizer, all that stuff. But this one is just a mix of foundation and primer. So this is also going to be very lightweight. And this one, like I said, was a little different. So it starts out white, and then you rub it in, and it has little beads in it that will slowly start changing the color to match your skin tone. So you can kind of see that color changing happening. It's a little hard to tell with the lights shining on it. It makes it look like it's still white, but that is actually a different color already. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but it changed colors. It still looks white when the light hits it, but I just ran a Q-tip over it so you guys can see that it changed colors to match what it thinks my skin tone is. So that is also very lightweight. A tiny bit of it does kind of blend into the skin like the moisturizer does, but mostly it just sits on top and it fills in fine lines and stuff like that. Now the spray one is a little gimmicky, but it's really lightweight, so you just spray it. And as you can see, it's very watery. It's already running down my hand here. But when I rub this one in, it's going to be a lot more like rubbing straight water on my hand, but it's going to have the color. And so with all three of these, once you put them on, you're not going to feel them. Like, once you put it on your face and set it, you can go about your day. You won't even remember that you're wearing it because it won't feel like anything once it dries anyway. That is a very orange shade, but it still actually works pretty well for a very gimmicky, cheap foundation. So those are the lightweight options that I have for you guys. If you do want lightweight coverage, those normally for people that don't have a lot to cover up or that just want something to even out your skin tone just a little bit, just to, like, some people just want to do one quick little step and then go on their day. You can do something lightweight like that. Now for medium coverage, it's when you're looking at medium coverage foundations, you're normally going to find something that says medium to full. They're normally going to be lightweight and kind of liquidy, and just they're going to give you more coverage than those light coverage, but they're not going to give you full coverage. So for these, it would be great for someone like me who doesn't really have too much to cover but wants to cover what there is. So the two that I'm showing you today is the Naked Skin by Urban Decay Weightless Ultra Definition Liquid Makeup. And it is very watery. And then the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Water Foundation, which is also very watery. So I'm just going to show you them side by side. As you can see, it drips right on down my hand because it is very, very lightweight. But it's going to have more color to it, and it's going to give more coverage than the light coverage ones. In the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea one, that is not my hand, is also going to start dripping right on down my hand. It's a little bit more full coverage. It's not as watery, so it doesn't slide down as quickly as the Urban Decay one did. I'm just going to rub these in real quick. And as you guys can see, they're very smooth, very creamy, and they give more coverage to my hand than the other one, than the light coverage did. Now these are specifically made to be lightweight, so just like the light coverage, when these dry, you won't feel them anymore. Like, you can go about your day and you won't feel like there's something sitting on your face. But you're going to get the coverage. So while it may not cover pimples or anything like that, it will cover any redness, or it'll help cover dark circles under your eyes, stuff like that. So a lot of people tend to go for medium coverage, lightweight foundations, like those two. But some people like full coverage foundation. I am one of those people. I don't need it. I know I don't have a lot to cover, but I still just really like the feel of full coverage foundation. It makes me feel like nothing is showing through. And I know that from here, I'm looking in the viewfinder, it doesn't really look like I have much to cover up. I know I have very dark circles and a little bit of redness and what some people call my natural contour, but is actually just a patch of skin that is very dark. And I have stuff like that. I have a little beauty mark here, but when you get up close, well, the camera still doesn't show it all very well. I have freckles and stuff that when I put on a medium coverage foundation, you can see the freckles kind of peeking through, and it just kind of makes my foundation look patchy, and it just makes me feel weird. So I prefer full coverage. I know people with acne scars most of the time prefer full coverage. Anything that you want to seriously cover up, a full coverage is probably going to be better. It's going to work better to cover it up. So a full coverage is going to be heavier. I have not found a full coverage that you don't feel on your face. You might not feel it as the day goes on, but you're going to feel the heaviness, especially when you're putting it on, and once it first dries, you'll still feel it, but as your day, you probably just get used to it, which is probably the only reason why I don't feel it afterwards. But they're going to be more heavyweight, and they're going to be thicker, and that's just because they're adding extra coverage. So I have not yet found a full coverage foundation that is straight just full coverage. What I have found is medium to full coverage, which means they give you medium coverage to start with, and then you can add another layer on top to get full coverage, and just kind of build it up like that till you get the coverage you want. So the ones I'm showing you today are the Maybelline New York Fit Me Foundation in Matte and Poreless, which is this one here. The lid is on backwards, but that's that one. And it's a really good drugstore one. And then I have the e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation, which is another medium to full coverage kind of foundation that's also a really good drugstore brand. For the Maybelline one, it doesn't have a pump. It's a lot more lightweight. And let's see, I don't want to get too much. So it's a little bit more watery, a little bit more liquidy, whatever you want to call it. And it will eventually drip down my hand. But the e.l.f. Flawless Finish one is a lot thicker and more cream-like. And so, if you guys can see the consistency, the e.l.f. is more of a full coverage one, and that's why it's very thick and just kind of sits there. But they both give a very good coverage. So those are the two side by side. As you can see, e.l.f. is a full coverage and the Maybelline New York is a medium to full, which means it doesn't give it gives more of a medium coverage, and then you can add another layer and it'll give more of a full coverage. And so that's full coverage foundation. Okay, so those are what I have to show you the different types of coverage that you can get. But the ones I'm going to be using for examples are medium to full coverage, and they're the Revlon Color Stay ones. I have two different ones here. Move this stuff out of the way. So once you decide what coverage you want, you probably think you're ready to go. You're going to pick one that's that coverage, but you actually need to know what your skin type is. So most of you will already know what kind of skin you have. If you have dry, oily, normal, or combination. So I have two foundations of Revlon Color Stay. That one is normal dry and the other is combination oily. My skin kind of changes on a day to day. It's just combination. I have combination skin. Most foundations, however, don't work for oily and dry. So if you have oily skin, you need to go for something that specifically says oily on it. So this one with the black lid says oily right on top here. It says combination oily. The matte and poreless says normal to oily, which means it will not work well with dry skin. And they're all just going to say something like that. And if you're not sure, you can Google it. You can ask a salesperson at Ulta or Sephora. They will help you find something that works great for your skin. But if you're oily and you get the normal dry, it's not going to work as well. And if you're dry and you get the oily one, it's not going to work as well. So you want to know your skin type so you can pick a foundation based on your skin that is specifically made to work, and it has a formula that's meant to handle your skin type. So once you determine what your skin type is and you decide this is the foundation that I want, I just need to pick my shade, you're not just going to straight up pick a shade. No matter if your skin is light or dark or whatever, you need to figure out your undertones so you know what foundation is going to work. what shade of foundation is going to work for you. So there are 3 different categories when it comes to undertones. 3. I don't know what I was doing. There's warm, cool, and neutral. Warm is going to be more yellow or olive undertones. Cool is going to be red or pink, and then neutral is just neutral or combination or whatever. So a lot of people find it very hard to figure out what their undertones are. So I'm going to show you a couple of different methods, but the most common method to figure out your undertones is to look at the inside of your wrist. Excuse me. You're going to look at the inside of your wrist, and you're going to look at the veins that are there. Now, if they look green, then you have warm undertones. If they look more purple, you have cool undertones. Mine look green, which means I have warm undertones. So you can take a white towel and wrap it around your face. I forgot to grab a towel, so I'm just using this very white Kleenex. You want to make sure it's white. Now, if you wrap it around your face, I'm just going to set it next to my face so that I can talk to you guys without covering my mouth. So you can do that and look at your skin. Now, if you look like there's a kind of a bluish tint to your skin, then you have cool undertones. If it looks like there's kind of a greenish tint, then you have neutral. And if it looks kind of yellowish, it means you have warm undertones. If you do that method, make sure you're having natural light. Fluorescent lights will give you more of a greenish tint. So once you figure out your undertone, you can figure out what foundation shade to get. A lot of foundations are going to say they're going to have them separated or set on a scale, where there will be a little tag on the shelf that says these shades are warm, these are cool, these are neutral, and you would pick within that frame of, so if I'm warm, then I'm going to look in the frame of warm undertone ones that work for that. So once you pick your undertone and your foundation and everything like that, I suggest going to Sephora or Ulta to pick your foundation so you can actually test it out. So I've got one that's a little bit more red, so it's a little bit more cool tone, and I have one that's a little bit more warm tone. It's more yellow. Actually, I think it's really more neutral looking, but I'm just going to show you guys the difference, because sometimes it can be hard to see the difference when you're just looking at your skin. So this one is cool toned, which is why it has more of a reddish pink tint to it. And this one is warm undertones, which is why it's more yellowish tinted, you know what I'm saying. And so you're going to want something that kind of matches your undertone to just help even it all out and, you know, just work well with your skin. Of course, if you have like a lot of red to your skin, that might not actually be your undertone. So just make sure you're actually looking at your undertone. If you really aren't sure, go to Sephora, get color matched. They will help you find the perfect shade that matches you. If they color match you, they'll pick the shade that specifically the machine says is the right shade for you. But make sure to test it on your jawline, and then go ahead and pick another shade that's darker and one that's lighter, and just kind of test them both. It'll help you see how well they match your neck. It'll help you see how they go on your face. And then you have a few different, 3 different shades to figure out which one works best for your face. And once you have picked out a shade that works for you, you can go ahead and buy that and try it out. See if you like it. Just because you find what you think is a perfect foundation, just because it's the right color and just because it's the right whatever that you want in a foundation, does not mean it's going to work great. If you go to Sephora, you can ask for samples of foundations and just go in, pick out the ones you want to test, like just pick a couple or pick 1 or 2 foundations that you want to test out, find the right shade for you, and ask them for samples, and they'll get little samples for you, and then you can take it home and you can test it out for a day or 2 and figure out which one you really want before buying it. If you decide by testing out that sample that you want to buy a certain brand and then you try it for a week or 2 after buying it, Sephora has a great return policy, and if you don't like it, you can return it even if you've used it. So Sephora is really just the best place for foundation just because you can give it back. And they can shade match you, and they can give you samples of whatever it is that you want to test out. You will have to try a lot of different foundations. I've showed you what I've been using, but I still haven't found one that I've absolutely fallen in love with. The Revlon Color Stay and Maybelline New York Fit Me foundation, these are my favorite at the moment. I've tried a few different ones. I've tried some higher end brands. Those are just my favorite at the moment, but I'm not in love with them. So it'll just take some testing to figure out which foundation is going to work for you. Like I said, just because the color matches does not mean it's going to be the foundation that you like. So that is it for this video of how to pick out your foundation. I hope it helped you if you've been struggling trying to figure out what foundation to get or how to pick the right one, or maybe you've tried a few and they just don't match or something, then I hope this helped you. If it did, make sure to give it a thumbs up down below. If you have any questions still, or just comments or requests for other videos, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. I normally answer every single one, and yeah, it helps me know that this is helping you guys if you like it or if you comment. But yeah, if you want to see more about me, but like behind the scenes type stuff, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at shewhospeaks _ instead of spaces. And I'm also on Snapchat at kimberly.nicole with a K, not a C. And those are just, I post sneak peeks. You'll know right away if I'm going to post that day or if I'm going to skip for any reason. It will be listed on those websites on my social medias. If you want to see more of my videos and you want to know when I make new ones, make sure to hit my face over here and subscribe. Or if you just want to see other videos by me, there will be 2 listed over here-ish. One will be my most recent video, and one will be what is best suited to you out of my videos. So you can go ahead and pick one of those if you want. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!